Hi, I'm Tony Freytag with CrunchPack, and we want you to eat more healthy snacks, fruits, and vegetables.
Welcome to the Produce Moms. This is the podcast where I talk to various people who've made an impact on the fruit and vegetable community. There are so many stories to share that will change the way you look at fresh produce. We are welcoming Tony Freytag. He's the Executive Vice President of CrunchPack. You know, if you're following the Produce Moms, we love this brand. I mean, we have a very unique relationship with CrunchPack. Not only do we work with them as one of our beloved brand partners, but Tony and his team were among the very first people in the industry to really believe in the Produce Moms as a partner brand, one that is worthy of putting on packaging alongside their brand. So you've maybe seen the Produce Moms and CrunchPack branded sliced apples. They're available nationwide at all sorts of wonderful retailers. I obviously share tons of photos of me stocking up when I'm shopping at Target, but hey, you know, they're available at other great retailers too. So Tony has a very unique role with the produce industry. When we think about that snacking category, that grab and go category where we can get all those quick, ready to eat snacks, some people might say that Tony is the pioneer that really started this. And I'm certainly part of that camp. So with that, Tony, we're so glad you're here. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Lori, and thanks for the kind words. And to just put it very clear, we're very supportive of everything you've done. I've watched as just you've grown in the years just as CrunchPack has grown. We just got an earlier start than you did. So you do a tremendous work. I know you have a very loyal following, and that's driven, I truly believe, by your dedication to your own family and to the kids. And so snacking has just become such an incredible part of the retail world. And if I go back more years than I care to think about, it was in the late 90s when we were really developing CrunchPack. And one of the stories that I always go back to is that we had a lady that was working with us, and she would talk to anyone and everyone about CrunchPack. And she was the evangelist for CrunchPack. And she would go to her grandson's baseball games. And before she would go, she'd take a few packets of our sliced apples. And these were like literally in baggies, because this was the very, very beginning. I don't even know if we were calling them CrunchPack at that time. They were just sliced apples. And she gave some to one of the moms and who was there. And we had come up with a price at that time that it would cost, X dollars a pound. And so the lady loved them, and she was eating them all through the game. And so Mary asked her, she says, "So would you buy these?" And she says, "Well, absolutely, I would buy them. And, the price sounds good. And I buy baby carrots and I buy bag salads and all that other kind of stuff that was going on at that time." And Mary said, "Why? Why would you buy them?" And she says, "Because I'd much rather be here at this game rather than home slicing apples." So the convenience factor of what this has all been about, we lead very busy lives. I don't have to tell you anything. And so this became sort of not the aha moment. I don't know where that came from. It just sort of evolved. But that comment sort of drove everything. It became the why. And it's something you and I have talked about. And no matter what you do, if there's not a good why, then we're missing something. And so this became somewhat of the driving force through those, especially those early years, but we started the company in 2000. So we're 22 years old right now, last month. And so it's hard to believe, because our first facility was this tiny room at the back end of another facility, and we were sort of wedged in there. And today we have robots, we have all this automation, and 80,000 square feet of production, and we do 1 million of those trays, such as the Foodles and the Paw Patrol, every week, every single week.
And from a distribution footprint, Tony, I mean, your products are nationwide.
They're nationwide. You talked about Target. We have a great relationship with Target and expanding that relationship.
I mean, every produce mom has a great relationship with Target. I saw a meme, Tony. You go to Target, not with a list. Rather, Target tells you what you need to buy when you start walking around.
I don't, our Target is not one of the super Targets here. It's one of the mini Targets, or many littler Targets. But I know that I see that at so many places. I mean, the outreach that the retailers are doing today is so amazing. And that, like you said, they tell you this is what you bought last time, and they fill everything out for you. You just sort of print off the list and go. Or look it up on your phone.
My weekly Walmart deliveries, it's always auto-populating. Even if I go to checkout and I forget to add the Crunch Pack, usually I'm getting the Toy Story one for Joe and Mac or one of the snackers. And if I forget, it'll say, "Did you forget something?" And then it's making the suggestion. And I'm like, oh, better add not 1, but 2 Crunch Packs at least.
And sometimes it's a little scary, all the things they know about us, but we'd rather not talk about that. But whether you go to Costco, whether you go to Target, Walmart, if you're in the Southeast, Publix, Kroger, Meijer, most of your major retailers across the country are carrying our product, in which we're extremely grateful for. And they're our biggest. They are a great feeder of information to us to say, this is what our customers are asking for, because everybody is so tuned in to our ability to communicate. And so that becomes, yes, we have a product development group, and we also, we're constantly doing market surveys and studies, and why should we be doing this, and why should we be doing that, and what's the value? But ultimately, it comes down to what the consumer wants.
Yes, that consumer poll. Like, what is the consumer demand? Without that demand, we're all out of business.
Exactly. They're the ultimate boss is a term that I just heard just the other day, because if they're not happy, we're out of business. And a great story about that is that I want to say it was 2005, 2004. We lost one of our major customers because there was a facility that said they could do the same thing that was near their distribution. Excuse me. And so they asked us if we could continue selling them. This was, not that I remember, but it was on June 13th, which happened to be a Friday, that they called me. And so they said, can you continue shipping until the 1st of August? And we said, well, yeah, I mean, we're not going to go away. We had nothing to replace it with at that time. And so 1st of August comes and goes. Our last shipment goes out. And 10 days later, we get a call back. And I didn't really know who it was because we didn't have caller ID on those phones. And he's talking to me, and he said, I need to ask you if you can start shipping me again. And then I realized who it was. And he said, our customers went ballistic.
Good.
And that feedback that those retailers give us, those produce managers are hearing that, good, bad, and ugly, every single day. And so it's so important that what we're delivering in July or August or January is the same quality throughout. And I think that consistency is what counts, because it's the trust factor.
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly, because you're going to get what you've asked for. So it's exciting to see it. It's so exciting to watch all of this, and now with our licensed programs, where you have the adoption of our product by people like Disney, like Nickelodeon with Paw Patrol, with all the different items that we're doing with Toy Story. And so I'm always amazed. I go out into the plant and the trays are flying off the line, And it's like, oh, there's that one, and oh, there's that one. And just the development over the years has been just amazing. And we're very thankful for the relationships we have with our licensed partners. Interesting thing about that is that a lot of people think this is where the value comes in. A lot of people think that because it says a certain licensee, Disney, or it says Paw Patrol, that they're paying more money because of the name. If you'll also notice that on every one of our packages, and the ones you're on as well, is that our logo is there. Our Crunch Pack logo is there. We believe we get a certain halo effect because if it says Disney and Crunch Pack together, then hopefully there's a value there. But what we also do is, yes, we pay a royalty to Disney. Can't get around it. But we spread that out of every single package we do because it also says Crunch Pack. So from an accounting standpoint, we level price everything. And that brings a better value to the consumer and to the parent or the partner that's buying our product. That to me is very, very important because that's the first thing we're asked for.
And it's not just the path to purchase, it's the path to consumption, which is absolutely the goal of all of us, most definitely the goal of Crunch Pack. So everyone stay with us. We're going to take a real quick break. And we're going to be back with Tony, and I'm going to ask him about the very early days because I love an entrepreneur story. And I know that you're going to love to hear how this iconic brand that has reinvented the snacking category, they're the pioneer of it in the produce department. You're going to love to hear how it all began. So stay with us. The Produce Challenge is a tool that we've been publishing at the Produce Moms since 2013. This tool is an incredible, easy way for you to discover more varieties of fruits and vegetables in the produce department. It is a proven tool and strategy to get us all to eat more fruits and vegetables in both volume and variety. When we started the tool in 2013, the goal was to encourage everyone to go into the produce department and try them all. Find your favorite, explore all the fruits and vegetables, and we are still proud to be doing this today. So make sure that you check out the producemoms.com/challenge to view this month's produce challenge. Remember, it's never too late to start. This tool helps you eat more fruits and vegetables, a different fruit or vegetable every day. It's also a great tool for seasonality, and you can count on us at the Produce Moms for all of the tips that you need on how to select, store, and serve each of the produce items of the day in the produce challenge through our social media channels. Hope to see you taking the Produce Challenge soon. We're back with Tony Freytag, my friend, a mentor, and an absolute legend in the produce industry. So Tony...
It means I'm old.
No, it doesn't. It does not. It does not. So Tony, we are thrilled that you're here, and we've had a great discussion thus far about, just the branding development of Crunch Pack. I mean, I have said this to other partners that we've had. I've said it on the industry within industry communications many times. I feel like if we are comparing, produce industry to CPG, the closest thing that we have to a CPG brand in the produce department is Crunch Pack. So with that, I want you to talk about, just start talking about current state, and then I'm going to drill you on that founder story too.
You're exactly right. I mean, we do not consider other produce companies, and this isn't about other produce companies. This is about how we look at the horizon of the snacking category of our packaging and our product. Our competition is not another produce company. Our competition is really center store, is CPG.
Yeah, it's Cheetos. We want kids to eat Crunch Pack apples instead of Cheetos.
Exactly. And Frito-Lay, which was born in out of Dallas, Texas, and out of Texas, which is my home state. I'm very proud of them. But they spill, the amount of money they can spend on consumer research dwarfs us. Or you take somebody like General Mills or Kellogg's, those are monumental numbers. And so that's what we're up against. and TV advertising and the other things. And so our product, it has to be on target every single day. And so, and we watch exactly, because nowadays with some of the data that we're able to acquire through our retail partners, they're telling us who's buying, how often they're buying, what else they are buying. And that is very important, because then we can correlate things that we know are important to that consumer at that store. Again, sometimes it's sort of scary because what the stores know about us, but what the heck, we might as well if it makes life easier. And so this drives us a great deal. We're a sliced apple company, and that is the core, excuse the pun, of our business. But we have become an ingredient business, and we're starting to partner with others that have a strong brand that we can include with ours. So Baby Bell cheese.
Yeah, cheeses. Yeah.
One of my favorites of all time. I love cheese. And what better goes with apples than cheese? And
I love the collab. I always buy that one in my weekly shopping order, is with the Baby Bell snacker. And then it's got like the dried fruit and nuts. I love it.
Exactly. Well, Baby Bell as a brand is so strong. So we're hoping that we're sort of giving them a halo effect, and they certainly are giving us a halo effect, to where people are saying, oh God, Baby Bell, we've bought that for years and for our kids.
And Tony, we would be remiss to not mention this. Baby Bell came to Crunch Pack, folks. And the reason I know that is because one of their executives in marketing sent me a LinkedIn request and said, can you introduce me to your partners at Crunch Pack? We really want to collaborate with their sliced apples. So if that doesn't say something about the value of what you've created at Crunch Pack, I don't know what does.
Thank you very much, because we constantly, we all have to partner. And that's the whole business relationship. And that's something about the produce business that is extremely unique. As competitive as we all are, no matter who you talk to, we're competitive. But yet we're constantly cross-referencing each other, reaching out to others. Dole is a big competitor of ours, and yet I know the Dole people, and so we talk. And it doesn't matter who there is that's out there. People want to learn from each other. No one believes they're in their own little silo in the produce world. Yes, they have their product, they have their quality, they have their ingredients, all of that, the raw product. But we all feed off of each other. We go to trade shows, we're all constantly talking about what's going on, who's doing what. And so that brings something that's very unique to sort of the family atmosphere of produce. That is, I do believe, is very unique to our world, because you never know.
Well, you never know. And there's plenty of, like, the same thing happens to us with the produce moms. There is no shortage of brands that can influence what we eat and buy at the grocery store, and I have adopted the mindset of, look, about 90% of Americans aren't eating the recommended amounts of fruits and vegetables on a daily basis. It's going to take a lot of voices to swing that pendulum. It's going to take a lot of collaboration, and there's no reason why even I, as the founder of the Produce Moms, should position my brand as an all-encompassing solution to anyone, And so I do see that collaborative. But of course, I'm just like everyone else in this industry. I'm a fierce competitor too, But that collaboration is absolutely, it's just paramount in our industry. It is critical. There are so many issues that we have to rally behind. And Tony, one of the recent articles that I read in preparation of this episode, the snacking category, which is really, that's where Crunch Pack thrives,
And we have become, I remember, if I go back about 10 years, is when we started showing snacks. We had first started coming up with some snack trays and things, because before we were in, 14 ounce or 1 pound bags, or we were in smaller bags or bigger bags. That's what we did. And then we had a 2 ounce bag. And actually one of our partners came to us at a trade show and said, I didn't know we were into snacking. And you always have to be very careful about how you respond to those kind of questions. And especially depending on who asks the question. And my comment was that we had always been in the snacking business because we knew that parents were taking the product home in a 1-pound bag that had a reclosable zipper bag on it. And they were putting them in baggies to put them in the lunches. So we had taken another step out of it. And then that allowed us, when we started getting into trays, into rigid packaging, allowed us to put other ingredients, to put cheeses, to put pretzels, to put whatever, yogurt-covered raisins. And
Baby Bell cheese.
yeah, exactly. And now I think the biggest challenge our purchasing department has is keeping up on all the ingredients because there's so many. But it's like, General Motors cannot produce a car if the door locks are out of stock. I don't. The smallest little thing will stop the assembly line. Well, that's exactly the same way. If we're out of pretzels, you can't make the product. And so the hats off to our department to keep track of all of that today, to say, oops, we need to get more pretzels or we need to get more something else. Apples we have down pretty good, but when it's all the other ingredients, you're relying on a lot of other people. And given the challenges that we've all had in the manufacturing business over the last few years with logistics and the expense and the dependability, has added a whole new level of challenges to what it is that we do. And thankfully, we've got some extremely dedicated folks that have been with us. They know us for years and years. And so both on the vendor side as well as our own internal side.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about, I know this, we help promote your brand, so I have to know this, but let's talk about where the apples come from, because that is the heart and soul of the Crunch Pack brand is the sliced apples. Where do they come from?
They come from just down the road. Our plant is located in Cashmere, Washington, which according to the records, somewhere near here within the next few miles is the dedicated center, the geographical center to the state of Washington. So that will tell you. We're on what's called the dry side of Washington state, because whenever you say Washington, I was exactly the same way. You think of Seattle, beautiful town, gorgeous. You can grow anything over there. Here we get about 10 inches of rain, and we depend on the water in the Columbia River and the snow that comes down out of the mountains. And that's what irrigates apple trees. We have a very dry climate. For us, a very hot and muggy day is something that's in the low 90s with about a 45% humidity. I grew up in Texas. A muggy day is 95 degrees and 95% humidity. So it's all relative to what we get used to. So that allows the trees to grow very vigorously. The air is clear. The water is pure. And so it allows us to take into all the consideration what Mother Nature has given us. Are there challenges today? Yes, there's always been challenges. And there will never not be challenges when it comes to growing. But Washington is known, because of the climate, as much as anything, as having some of the best apples in the world. And so we grow Washington State, as a plug, it grows about 75% of all the apples in the United States. We grow virtually all the organic apples. And again, that has to do with climate, because when you get into, and we buy apples from Pennsylvania and New York and Canada and Michigan, but those climates are much more humid. And so that makes it more difficult to grow organic apples. So we buy from literally all over the country, but the vast majority of our apples, I would say 80%, come from right here within the state of Washington.
And all domestically sourced, all USA grown.
There are times of the year This year we will be almost entirely domestic. It all depends on how we're into harvesting right now. So the apple harvest has just started in the last few weeks, and it'll go on until the early parts of November, depending on the weather. And so what all has happened since the winter goes into what we get off the tree. That fruit is put into a special kind of storage. It's called controlled atmosphere. And we basically, the fruit that you're eating now at the stores, much of it was harvested last September or October or early November. And because of the technology of what we've developed over the years, the packers and the storage people, they're able to put the apples to sleep, sort of let them hibernate, and it slows them down. It slows down the ripening process. It slows down the aging process. I wish we could do it to us, but they haven't figured that one out yet. And so it's very important as to what we get off the tree in the next 2 months as to what we have to do in July and August. And there we have partnerships all over the world. Most of the fruit that we get that's offshore is Chile. We have people in Chile that are part of us that look at what it is to meet the grades that we want. They know what's important. We've trained them. We're down there. My boss, Mauro, just got back from Chile, Argentina, and Mexico just this week. He's just back. And because
Tony, you have a boss?
He does. I don't recognize it as such, but yes, I do. And he knows better than to try to say that. But no, I do. We all.
That might be every person in the produce industry's big takeaway from this episode is, wait, Tony just said he has a boss?
You don't spread it around. And,
okay.
And so, but yes, I do. And we all have a boss in one way or another.
You know what? Your boss is the same boss we all have. The shopper at the grocery store. That's the universal boss.
Exactly. Because if they're happy, everyone else is happy. That's sort of the way life works. And so, but we're constantly looking out. So probably 90% plus of our fruit is all domestic. What isn't is literally hand-picked, hand-graded with our eyes before it ever gets on a boat to come up here. This year was very little, and part of it, again, was logistics. And as crazy as the weather has been, last year we had days in June here in central Washington of over 110 degrees, which is very unusual. And so you don't know what damage that does to the little apple when it's growing. And so, and that damage or that repercussion can go all the way into this season. So the product we're getting off the trees today could have been impacted by the high temperatures last year, or if we have a lot of smoke. There's just because of fires and stuff all over the western seaboard. So the bottom answer is the vast majority is out of here in Washington. We have select growers and packers in New York and Michigan that we also count on. But again, our head of raw product procurement just got back from a conference in Chicago where all the U.S. apple growers attend. So we're right there in the middle of them. And plus the fact that our partnership, some of our ownership are growers. So we know what's going on in the field every single day. We have it is because the old adage of garbage in, garbage out is never more true in the produce industry. You can't make it better if it didn't start out good. So our job is to make sure we pick what is good on day one.
Speaking of day one, Tony, we've got to talk about how this brand started.
I was actually living in Medford, Oregon, and I was working with a family that's in the ag business. They have operations in California and Oregon and also here in Washington. And I was attending a conference, and somebody had said, have you tried this processing aid to keep apples from browning? And I said, no. And he says, I'll get you in touch with these people. So we did. And so the other apples have been treated with citric acid, which is very, very tart, obviously, and other things that actually change the flavor of the apple. Well, why screw up a good deal? I mean, and so the very first time I met with these people, I said, what is the powder, the processing aid taste like? And the processing aid is basically calcium and vitamin C, both things that we need and are good for us. And so he says, I don't know, I haven't tasted it. And I looked at him like, well, how do you know what it's going to do? I said, so do you have some here? He showed me them. I licked my finger, stuck it in it, and tasted it, and there was no taste. It just totally dissolved. And I said, okay, we can talk. Because again, why mess up what we have in the fact that we have all these wonderful varieties, and why change the flavor in any way, form, or fashion? And so that was really how we started playing with it. We also started slicing pears in the very beginning. 22 years later, we're still working on that. Pears are very, very challenging in the sense of, we all know as pears get sweeter, they get much softer, and so they bruise easily. But it's still a hope before I retire, whatever that means. And so,
well, that would absolutely be a game changer for, chefs, households to increase their consumption of pears.
And we'd love to hear more about it because in fact, I mean, this is sort of on the QT here, Lori. Just in the last 2 weeks, we purchased one of the latest designs in automated pear slicing. And most of those machines are designed for the cannery business, the cans of Bartlett pears that we get at the store. Great product and nothing about it. But so we always have to modify things for what we do we minimize the cellular damage by the blades going through. Another whole big technological story. But the bottom line is that I started testing and slicing the apples by hand and the pears in my kitchen in Medford.
This is what I love. Like, even Crunch Pack started in Tony's, like, the founder's kitchen, right? Don't you love that?
And the weird part is that my son had moved from Dallas, even though he thought we were crazy to move to Oregon. But he decided he liked Southern Oregon, and he was living in the city and would come over to either ask for money or do his laundry or things like that. And we had an outside refrigerator in the garage. And so one time he comes over and he says, Dad, those apples that you've got in the fridge outside are great. And he says, what are you doing? And I said, when did you get those? And did they taste good? Because this was in the very beginning. This was like the very beginning.
Okay, so like when was this? Because you said Crunch Pack's been around. It started in the early 2000s, right?
This was probably in 98 and early 99.
That's when I graduated from high school, Tony.
Thank
1999.
I really appreciate that. And well, at least you were born. And
yeah.
Because I'm faced with that sometimes, like you weren't even born. And but he had eaten apples that had pushed sort of what we thought the use by date should be, the shelf life. And so I said, so are you feeling okay? Yep, yeah. Yeah, I mean, he eats even today. He still eats and drinks just about everything, and so it was sort of by accident that then we started pushing the use by date, because we knew that the apples are here, but the customers are all over the country, and certainly there's not that many customers in Washington State compared when you take of New York or Florida or any of the places in Texas and California. So we knew we had to transit them somehow across the country, and it was going to take time.
Right. And that shelf life from the date of manufacturing or slicing really is the better term, the date of processing, that that a broader shelf life is critical for even just market access. Just to get a retailer to put it on the shelf, you have to have, that you have to be at a shelf life guarantee where, they're not taking on a lot of risk as the retailer and putting it on shelf.
Absolutely. Because I mean, if they're having to, and this is with any produce product, with any product, if they're having to throw half of it away because it goes beyond code date or it doesn't hold up, it's one, it's the labor to take it off the shelf, and two, it's the lost revenue. And so we don't want that. So the goal is to have product that meets the code date, that allows it to get across the country. And that's really how we did it. It is that we looked at the farthest place that we would have to ship. And we said, to get it there, to get it through the system, to get it home, to get it consumed, it's going to take this long. And so we worked backwards from there. And until we got it to that, that's when we sort of said, okay, we can give this a try. And we had only scratched the surface in reality, but it was a starting point. And so, I mean, the first things that we did is we did a 1 pound bag. We did a 3 pound food service bag, because some stores would take the apples and mix it with other things. And they still do. There's a lot of stores that do that. And then we had a 7 ounce bag that had caramel in it. And the biggest complaint that we got was that there wasn't enough caramel. And because we had realized that the apple slice had become the method of conveyance from the caramel cup to somebody's mouth. And so that was really what we lived off of for the first 2 or 3 years. And it wasn't really in about 2005. 2004 and 2005 is when we got into the organic business. And we still do a considerable amount of organic sliced apples. And those went into Costco.
I buy them at Whole Foods.
Yep. And Whole Foods. And those were 2 of the first early adopters for us. And so Publix, Whole Foods, some of the Krogers, some of the regional Safeways, those were some of the first people that sort of said, this doesn't make sense, but it does make sense. And so we'll give it a shot. And so the rest, as I, sort of going back even before the start of this, I was raised in Central Texas. I grew up in a family that basically my mom and dad were the only 2 members of their respective families that moved to the city. All the rest of my aunts and uncles lived in the country, were farmers and ranchers. So every summer, what happens is that you get kicked out of the house and you go spend the summer on a farm with, aunts and uncles. It was only like 45 minutes away, so it wasn't too drastic. Central Texas has quite the growing region. And I never wanted any part of agriculture. It was much too hard work. And so yet I'm in the middle of it today. But over the years, I learned what it took. I learned the hard work. And I have a great deal of respect for the farmers and the growers. It's unbelievable what they go through and what they're going through today. But it also taught me, a work ethic and of what could be done. And now coming all the way back, and I spent a number of years in the department store retail world, developing products for people like Neiman Marcus and Saks Fifth Avenue and Nordstrom's and any of those. But when you stop to think about it, men and women, but especially women, there are 4 to 6 seasons at least of clothing that you can go to at your local store, wherever you buy clothes, and they're constantly being changed. And what do you always want to see? You want to see what's new, because you're not going to wear the same thing you wore 3 years ago. So it's always been the driving force that the only thing that counts is what's new. And yes, you've got to keep doing what you've always done. You have to do it well, but you have to keep something new in front of people. We go to trade shows, you know this, and the buyers and the retailers will come in and say, what do you have new? So we're all conditioned to that. So it's our job as a manufacturer and as a producer to come up with things that are new, to change the look, to change the packaging, to change the ingredients, but to still stay with that core belief that apples are very important for us. And we're in the Wenatchee, which is a town about 10 miles from here, has a big sign at each end of the town. And it's the Wenatchee is the apple capital of the world. And I've threatened to have a little sign made to say it's the sliced apple capital of the world. But I don't want to get arrested for changing it.
It's both, Tony. It's both.
You can't have one without the other.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. This has been so much fun. All right, people, stay with us. We're going to come back with Tony. We are going to have to wrap things up, but we're going to ask some fun questions too. So stick with us. Don't go anywhere. Tony Freytag with CrunchPack coming back. The struggle is real. How are we going to get more fruits and vegetables on every table? How are we going to make fresh fruits and vegetables the convenient and easy choice for us all? Well, one way that we do that at the Produce Moms is by choosing CrunchPack products. CrunchPack is America's #1 sliced apple brand, and we are so proud to work with them both in a brand partnership and, hey, look for the Produce Moms logo on all of their family-size bags. All right, everybody, we are back with Tony, talking all things CrunchPack, snacking category, what it means to be a produce industry legend, and did you know Tony Freytag has a boss? That's like, I think, going to be the standing joke of this episode. All right, no, Tony, in all seriousness, it's been a wonderful discussion. So glad that you could join us on the Produce Moms podcast. You know, we both have that founder mindset. So, Tony, would you say that you love winning or do you hate losing, and why?
Well, I guess I would say I hate losing. Winning is something you only do at that moment. Losing is something that's, and yes, it feels good. And I should say I love losing at times because that's the education that we have. That if we're not learning from that, then we've missed the boat, and we've all had our share. So I read an article one time years ago, and it was about as we mature, we have more intuition. Well, intuition is nothing more than remembering what happened here. It's sort of like a database that connects the dots and says, no, you don't want to go down that path again. And so you're constantly remembering. But you also have to remember that what failed or what didn't work at X time, you have to understand why. Was it ahead? Was it ahead of the game? Was it old, tried and true? Because what's the adage? You have to look in the blue water. The blue water is where you go and it's smooth sailing and you get out there. And we have to constantly be looking out there. And it's marketing. Marketing I attune or I equate with skiing, snow skiing. And really water skiing as well, but I'll stay with snow skiing, is that if all you do is watch the tips of your skis, if you're just looking down at your skis, a tree could come in front of you very fast, or a bump, or a rock, and you're going to fall. If you're looking beyond the tips of your skis, you're looking down the hill at what's coming and how to maneuver around it and how to make it what you want it to make it. Maybe it's a mogul and you want to jump it, crazy. But that's how we learn. And that's, I believe that's how we've done it over the years, is we certainly know what didn't work. I mean, we all have those. And so by avoiding those things sometimes, and by remembering what it is that we did that didn't go exactly right, we now know how to win. Because again, winning is just a moment. I'm extremely competitive. I hear about something and I hear about somebody doing something. I want to know who, I want to know how, all of those things. But ultimately we have to deliver. It's our job to deliver. And so long answer to a very short question, but I do believe that, I do hate losing, but ultimately that's how we learn.
But you wouldn't take it out of your life. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Learn too much from it. All right, a quick fire crunch pack this or that. All right, thinking about our favorite crunch pack products and all the different things that come with it, okay? So, crunch pack apples plus peanut butter or caramel?
For me, peanut butter.
That's good. All
Yeah,
right, crunch pack apple.
Caramel.
Well, this is all about you, Tony. Today's all about you, okay? Crunch pack apples plus pretzels or the little beef jerky sticks?
Oh, it would be beef sticks for me. Yeah.
Okay. Crunch pack apples plus the little graham cracker cookies or the cheddar crackers?
Oh, cheddar crackers. They're cheese. They have cheese flavor, and I'm a cheese
Okay,
addict.
so last one. Here we go. Crunch pack apples plus cheese or wine?
Both. They both go very well together.
I agree.
For adults. Now, for children, I would leave it just to the apples.
That's right. No, I'm talking about the mom's little charcuterie box, aka the crunch pack snacker.
And those are perfect. I mean, we go to wineries. We have a lot of wineries around here, and we do partake. And so you go in and you go, well, gee, we should make something for them. It makes we're always creating. And you come back to the office and you start talking about it amongst your operational group, and they're going, no more, stop.
It's important, like you said, that fashion influence and mindset. You always have to have something new to offer, and sometimes what's old is new. Like what might be new to some person that has been on shelf at another retailer for a long time. So
you talked about it earlier, and I think it is so important. You talked about getting people, the American public, to eat more fruits and vegetables. As I said, I grew up around farming, and so we had everything fresh all the time. I wasn't crazy about spinach, and now I pay extra for it at a restaurant because I ate it back then, and I learned. The more we can do to get healthy snacks into the hands of kids today, and I have 2 grandkids. The second one was born yesterday. And so I have a 2-year-old granddaughter and a 2-day-old grandson. And but the more they can be exposed to healthy snacking and living, their life is going to be so much better as they grow. The power of food is amazing today. And the power of fruits and vegetables and what it does for our body. And it doesn't matter which ones. I always hear that, well, lettuce has my friends in the salad business, and people say, well, lettuce really has no nutritional value. Yeah, it does. It has water, it has fiber, it has nutrients. All of those things are so critical for us. And so I'm not saying you just have to eat apples. Just get in the habit. And so the more we can do for our kids that way, the better off we're going to be, and the better off their life is going to be. And so I think it's so important that we develop those traits now when the kids are young. And that's so important, and so thankful that the retailers of the world have adopted snacking as such an important category. I don't believe it'll ever go away. I mean, some things come and go, but the fact that a parent, for themselves or for their kids, can pick up something they know is nutritionally balanced, because we're under strict regulation. I mean, Disney tells us we have to pack things with a certain balance to it. So does Paw Patrol. And so we know that they're getting something that's good, and that's going to be good the rest of their life.
I don't know if there's a better closing statement or sentiment to the Produce Moms podcast than that. But of course, any closing remarks that you might have beyond that, we welcome you to the mic for those. But, I am just so thankful that you're here. It was a great episode. I had a lot of fun, and certainly just so appreciate your support through the years. I remember selling Crunch Pack products. Now we're blessed to, promote them for many years. And of course, the opportunity to have the Produce Moms logo appear on the packaging.
We're excited. We've been excited. It's a great partnership.
Well, thank you. I agree. And it's a wonderful team, you guys. Everyone beyond Tony, just lovely folks to work with. They've always treated me and my team here at the Produce Moms with a high level of respect. And what more can you ask for in the world of business? You know, you got a great product that you sell and you've got kind people behind it. So with that, Tony Freytag, it has been just an amazing episode, and everyone for joining us. I'm going to give Tony the mic for the final goodbye, but this is just your reminder. We really appreciate your likes, your reviews, your comments for this podcast. It helps us keep it going. So please consider rating and reviewing us on your favorite podcast platform. We are on all of them. And Tony, any closing remarks and the final goodbye to our audience today?
I will just reiterate exactly what you said, Lori, and it is so important to get the feedback. Without the feedback to what you're doing, to what we're doing, to what everybody is doing, and we have such tools today that we used to not have. I mean, just the fact that we can fire off a note and at the moment, and it reaches the people that we need it to reach to. It doesn't have to go through the mail department. God love the post office. But that's how we live and get better. And I want to thank everybody. I mean, every customer, every consumer who's given us a try over the years, because without it, we wouldn't be here, quite honestly. The partnership that we've had is very special. And I appreciate it, Lori. You've worked exceedingly hard, and blood, sweat, and tears, I know. And one, you used to sell produce, so that's blood, sweat, and tears right there. So the fact that you've taken it to another level, I can only compliment you and praise you and the team for everything that you do and all that you bring to us. So we appreciate it.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Produce Moms podcast on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and any preferred podcast platform. Check out the Produce Moms on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. Special thanks to everyone involved with the Produce Moms podcast, my amazing team. Stay tuned till next time. I love grocery shopping. You all know that. And there's nothing that brings a smile to my face like when I actually see a Produce Moms branded fruit or vegetable on the grocery store shelf. So today I want to remind you all that we actually have an Idaho potato line that's available at select Walmart stores nationwide. So look for the Produce Moms branded Easy Baker potatoes. They are individually wrapped, triple washed, ready to cook Idaho potatoes grown by our amazing brand partners at Wada Farms. Make sure that you look for them. You are going to love them. We have so many ideas, recipes, inspirations, even a field trip to the farm that's available on our website. All you have to do is scan the little QR code that's on your Produce Moms Easy Baker to experience it all. Thank you so much, and eat more potatoes.